Alright folks, let's talk about this brand new special Dragonstone that has become available during the Dragon Ball Heroes celebration. If you guys are low spenders, moderate spenders, then you might have already come across this in your stone shop sales. If you took a look here, we have the 32 stones, 50% off, 93 stones for the price of 63, and then there's this little thing right here, the 100 Dragonstone pack, from which you can receive a special crossover Dragonstone. You can get up to 2 of these, and with these packs and with those 2 stones, you can exchange them for select Dragon Ball Heroes units from the Baba Shop. So today's video is going to be all about helping you make a more informed decision as to which of the units you should actually pick, because there's a lot of good units, and then there's also a couple bad ones, so you want to make sure that you don't pick the bad ones at the very least. Now, number 1 rule when it comes to this type of a thing, just like with the coin shop videos that I do, the number 1 rule has got to be, do not purchase one of these units until you are done summoning. You can buy the pack early, which is totally fine, but if you plan to actually redeem these stones, only do so once you are done summoning on the main banners, because the last thing you want to be doing is purchasing those units from the shop and then jumping back into the banners and then pulling those same units that you just purchased, where you could have spent that on somebody else. Because if you look at the selection, there's actually 24 units to choose from, and most of them are really, really good. So we're going to go through a couple of these, some of the standout units that I feel like are more important for people. And obviously this is going to be a lot of opinion stuff, so if you guys agree, disagree, feel free to let me know in the comments. Not that big a deal if we disagree, just I ask that we're all respectful about everyone else's opinions. But as you can see here, there are 24 characters to choose from, and it's going to be really tough for some of you, because you might not have some of these units, so you're conflicted between picking a unit that you don't have versus picking a unit that is universally a lot more beneficial for your teams. So taking a look at the banners, like I said, definitely summon on these first, get whatever you need to get done first, and then once you're done with these, jump back and check that out. Because the featured list obviously has the new units on this banner. The unfeatured list for the Dragon Ball Heroes banners always have every single Dragon Ball Heroes unit that came before it. So there's always the chance that you could come up with one of those. And I even extend this advice even to this banner itself. This is an Extreme Z banner dedicated to the original 7 Heroes units that first dropped on Dokkan. They are now getting their EZAs, so they're releasing a banner to correspond to those 7 units. Those units also are available on the original Dragon Ball Heroes banner. So if you are planning to summon on this with the 30% or 30 stone discounts, only do that once you've summoned on this banner. So assuming you finished all that, we are now looking at these 24 units here in the Baba Shop. So now let's actually jump over to the Dokkan Wiki and take a look at a more in-depth way on some of these units. We're looking at the entire list right here, 24 units. If you're wondering where this is from, this is actually the 2020 banner for the Dragon Ball Heroes celebration, and we're not counting the 6 featured units up top. We're just counting those 4 and then all of these. These guys are like returning ones who got awakenings at the time. So these 24 units, which ones do you choose from? The general consensus among the people that I speak to is that for the most part, you want to pick the unit that gives you the most value. And that value doesn't just extend to Dragon Ball Heroes units, but it should also be able to extend to teams and categories outside of Dragon Ball Heroes. Because that's the number 1 complaint, the number 1 weakness with these Dragon Ball Heroes units. It's that while they're really good for the categories that they're in, it's also kind of limiting, because once you take your category meta to somewhere else that doesn't have anything to do with Dragon Ball Heroes, they don't really have much use anymore. They don't have much utility, and they're kind of just sitting there doing nothing in your box. So what you want to be looking at is units that can give you more than just the Dragon Ball Heroes experience, but also impact your other teams so that you can actually get more out of the unit. And that, of course, would mean support units are going to be the best. If you can find a support unit that can universally help Dragon Ball Heroes and outside of it, that is going to be the go-to. And there are some really good support units in this list. So I'm going to go over a couple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 units that I want to show you. Most of them are ones that I would recommend. There are a couple that I want to show you that could potentially be ones you should not be looking at. So let's start in order. The first and probably one of the most impactful units that you could take is the Supreme Kai of Time. The Supreme Kai of Time not only can support with ki and stats, but also impacts the critical hit ratio of any ally, which is ridiculous. And then she also has a great chance of adding even more to the attack and defense of that group support. Her own passive takes sort of a detriment here because she's not able to protect herself so much, but that's why she's able to massively raise defense for one turn and seal the enemy super attack, somewhat protecting her. But for the most part, as far as a support is concerned, she could help literally any team that she's on. She is extremely useful. So, and this is also one of the most rare collection of abilities in one group passive. I don't think there are too many other units in the game, I can't even think of one, that not only supports stats and ki, but also impacts the critical hit ratio at such a degree. 12% of a critical hit ratio is basically having a 6 critical in your hidden potential system. That's really good. So this is one of the first units that I would recommend simply because of the fact that she can do a lot for you in terms of enhancing your other teams. But as far as protecting herself, she is a liability, so you'd have to make adjustments. But you probably would already know that since you've already got your teams built up. She's only going to be adding more to it, not taking any away. Couple of the units that definitely need to be taken a look at would be the Xeno Super Saiyan Goku and the Xeno Super Saiyan Vegeta. These two units are ridiculously good. In fact, you could argue these two units are even more valuable than the new units that have arrived on this year's summons. And I'm not even joking. These guys are so good because they not only lead their own categories in a very unique archetype, 130%, but they also are greatly raising their attack and defense and stacking permanently. Goku stuns the enemy, and Vegeta, I was going to say nerfs and lowers, and I said lurfs. Lowers enemy attack while also stacking. And then they both do something never before seen on these two categories, and that is provide a 40% support, ki +2, for their respective family. That is an extremely underrated asset for a unit that not only leads, but also acts as its own little unit on a team. So you could run this guy as the main unit on a team, you could run this guy as a secondary unit, and he's going to do a whole bunch and more on your various teams. These two are extremely useful, and I would highly recommend you guys consider this. They are the awakened versions of the regular Xeno, Goku, and Vegeta, who also support their various categories. The Xeno Goku stacks attack infinitely, but supports Goku's family by 30%, ki +2. Vegeta stacks defense, so out of the two, the SSR form, Vegeta is better. And he raises attack and defense, and ki +2 for Vegeta's family. I don't believe there are too many actual Vegeta's family or Goku's family supports other than these guys. There are obviously like super class supports that fit into those categories, but as far as explicitly those two categories, I don't believe we have too many of those. So they definitely hold a lot of value, and they will be far more valuable than probably even the Supreme Kai of Time on certain events, because while she's great, she can't stack permanently, and she can't seal all the enemies that you might be fighting on various events. So you could argue these guys are even better. So definitely pay attention to these two. Honestly, these three would be the ones you'd have to choose from, and that's pretty tough. So make sure you guys summon first, because if you end up pulling some of these, it might make your decision that much easier to select between these three, because you could always end up picking the one that you have the least copies of. Now, going over a couple extra units that are also worth mentioning, I do want to point out this Toa. She is part of the Gen 1 heroes who just got the EZA. She is a pretty strong extreme class support who can also heal, and has a pretty decent setup here with the EZA now. She gains attack and defense plus 100%, times 2, plus an additional defense plus 80. So she's one of those supports that can not only protect herself, but also support and heal. She kind of does a little bit of everything, while also greatly lowering attack. She doesn't seal or stun, but she does do pretty much everything else. She's very valuable on any other extreme team, including Peppy Gals. She could help you on Peppy Gals, although I don't know if there's enough to run a full extreme Peppy Gals team. But even if there isn't, she still has this recover 100% thing that you could simply just run on a third slot unit. If you're about to die with Peppy Gals, you bring this unit in, boom, full heal. Pretty good. Other mentions, we got the Boo Kid Bobbity. Instead of calling him that, I like to say Boobity, just makes more sense. This unit provides all allies defense plus 40% when HP is 81% or more. Recovers 5% from the start of the turn. Oh wait, no, that's the old one. Here we go. Recovers 8%. There you go, 8% HP. So when your HP is 80% or more, all allies get defense plus 50. And then when your HP is below 80%, all allies get ki plus 3, attack plus 50%. Kind of an extension that's somewhat reminiscent of the physical Kid Boo. When you have a certain level of HP above that threshold, you're able to support your allies by 50%. This is kind of a different version of that by providing defense at the top and attack at the bottom. Probably a better situation to have them flipped, but either way, it's still a pretty prominent support. He probably wouldn't fit on too many teams in terms of links, but still, the recovery and the support is pretty convenient and one worth considering. And now for the next one, so now we've covered all the supports that I very much like. Let me show you one of the supports that I wouldn't recommend, simply because it's pretty difficult to use this guy outside of Dragon Ball Heroes. I'm talking about Golden Cooler. Golden Cooler is a great support. He +2, attack and defense plus 20%. You can get even more with 30% more if you have 3 or more Dragon Ball Hero category allies on the team. So if you're running Dragon Ball Heroes, this guy's support is stellar because that's 50% support. But if you're not running Dragon Ball Heroes, like let's say you're running Wicked Bloodline or Transformation Boost, this guy's not going to really help out in the entire way that he could. You're basically getting this top part of the passive and not much else. Not to say that this guy's bad, it's just that you're not getting the entire bang for your buck with this support versus somebody like Supreme Kai of Time, or Goku's family, or even Toa or Boobity. So keep that in mind. Now I want to show off a couple of units that are also really good offensively and just as far as damaging is concerned. These units are actually really good, and that is the Super Saiyan 3 Trunks and the Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. These two post-EZA are basically kind of like the EZA Trunks and Goten from the Majin Buu Saga from the movie Heroes. The EZA that took place that also gave 18 in Awakening. Those 3 units are really good because they temporarily stack 6 turns while still causing supreme damage, but they are some of the most powerful supreme damaging units in the game with that EZA, and this Gotenks is no exception. Also, with the high chance of launching an additional super on the first 5 turns, your Gotenks is going to be off to the races right away, making his stats pretty high, and he's going to do a lot of work for you. Same thing goes for the Trunks. Trunks stacks for 9 turns, so you're going to have an even higher plateau with this Trunks as opposed to the Gotenks, because Gotenks only has 6 turns. And then also you have a high chance to guard all attacks. So with all of these stats going for you, on top of that, being able to guard, that's a pretty insane ability because you're probably not going to be taking too much damage. Even on some of the tougher events like the Legendary Goku event. I can tell you with 100% certainty, I have won several no-item Legendary Goku event runs with this Trunks pre-EZA. So now that he has his EZA, he's going to be even better. And then lastly, here is the Super Saiyan 3 Xeno Goku. This guy is also really good. The only problem is that he requires so many Dragon Ball Heroes units on the team. You kind of would have to make a decision on how many Dragon Ball Heroes allies you'd want to have on the team. Because if you did have a full squad, this guy's guarding all attacks. He's able to stun with a high chance. And then he can also 35% damage reduce all attacks coming in. If you were to have maybe 4 or 3 Dragon Ball Heroes allies on the team, he would be less effective, but combining that still with a guard is pretty prominent. But I wanted to show this guy off because he is also one of those units that I would recommend if you are interested in one of these and you've simply pulled copies of everybody else. So hopefully this was a comprehensive enough overview of some of my thoughts, some of my picks for these units to choose from. Jumping back into the game, I will say that when I went to the Bob Shop and made my own choice, I ended up choosing... Oh, they don't show up here anymore. I ended up choosing Xeno Goku and the Supreme Kai of Time. Let's actually go back to the Dokkan Wiki. I ended up choosing these two, Supreme Kai of Time and Xeno Goku, because I wanted to have even more supports for the Goku's family. I have a 79% Xeno Goku Super Saiyan, and instead of rainbowing him, I actually have decided to keep an SSR version so that I could have multiple Goku's family supports on a particular team, because this will help me in more ways than one outside of Heroes. And then, of course, Supreme Kai of Time, because, as I mentioned, she has one of the rarest combinations of support abilities I've ever seen, and she's extremely valuable, especially on Super Battle Road, because she can seal enemies, she can massively raise defense, and pretty much protect herself, while also giving a big boost to everybody else. No matter what team you bring her on, she will help them out. And that's too good to pass up. Even though I am missing a dupe on this Gotenks, I really wanted to pick the Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. But in my opinion, I think having support, an optimal support unit, is going to be more beneficial than having a top-tier attacking unit from the Dragon Ball Heroes series. So those are my thoughts. Hopefully you guys agree. If you disagree, that's totally fine. Feel free to let me know in the comments. But yeah, hopefully you guys can make those choices a little bit easier now. I know it's pretty tough because there's a lot of good units, but just think about it for a second. maybe go through the Dokkan Wiki yourself and really just take a deep dive into all of these units and make a decision. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below. Let me know in the comments which units you ended up choosing, if you did buy the stone, if you did not, and you're just simply window shopping, which unit would you choose? Let me know why in the comments down below. Also, be sure to subscribe for more dope content in the future, and click the notification bell so that you let YouTube know you want to see more of my stuff. Do it! Thanks again. Stay tuned. And always remember to Dokkan responsibly.